The city of Aurora Prime glittered like a jewel under the light of 3 suns. Towering spires of metal and glass stretched into the sky, reflecting the colors of the bustling spaceport below. Ships of all shapes and sizes zoomed past, carrying travelers, traders, and diplomats from countless worlds. Among them, the human population had grown steadily, their reputation for resourcefulness and bravery spreading across the galaxy. At the edge of the busiest docking bay, Captain Eli Carter adjusted the strap of his utility belt and scanned the crowd. His uniform was simple, marked only by the insignia of the United Earth Defense Corps. He had seen the galaxy from the inside of a cockpit, navigated asteroid fields, and survived hostile encounters with alien species that could crush a human without effort. And yet, today's assignment made his stomach tighten in a way that no battle ever had. Eli Carter called a voice, crisp and commanding. He turned to see Commander Voss, his superior, striding toward him. Voss was a tall man with silver hair and sharp blue eyes that seemed to see through lies. And excuses alike, "You're early," Voss said. "Good. I don't have much time to explain, so listen carefully. Your mission is simple but crucial." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Simple? Last time you said that, I almost got vaporized by a plasma drone in the Vega sector." Voss ignored the comment. "You are to act as the personal protector for Princess Lyra of the Nerithian Empire. She arrives on Aurora Prime in 2 hours. You will ensure her safety at all times, whether during transit, negotiations, or any unforeseen events. You are her shield." Eli felt a mix of excitement and frustration. Protecting an alien princess was both a huge honor and a massive headache. The Nerithians were famous for their pride, intelligence, and, according to rumors, their impatience with human interference. "And what if she refuses my help?" Eli asked. Voss's expression hardened. "She won't, at least, not openly, but you must be prepared for resistance. You will not underestimate her. The Nerithians are not like us. They think differently, move differently, and they expect the impossible. Your job is to keep her alive, even if she acts as if she doesn't need you. Understand?" Eli nodded. "Understood. Good. Then go. The princess will arrive shortly." And Eli, "Yes? Remember, this is more than a simple assignment. The peace talks depend on her safety. If anything happens, I know," Eli said, cutting him off. He had heard the warnings 1,000 times before. Lives, alliances, and the balance of power often rested on the shoulders of a single person. That person today was him. The docking bay trembled as a sleek Nerithian cruiser descended from the sky above. Its hull shimmered in shifting shades of blue and violet, catching the light of the suns in a way that made it look alive. The crowd fell silent, sensing the arrival of royalty. Eli tightened his grip on his sidearm, though he hoped he would not have to use it. The ramp extended with a quiet hiss, and a figure stepped down. Princess Lyra. She was taller than most humans, with elegant limbs and skin that seemed to glow faintly in the sunlight. Her eyes, deep green with golden flecks, scanned the crowd with a sharp intelligence. Her movements were precise, almost regal, as if every step had been rehearsed. She wore a long, flowing garment that shimmered like liquid metal, and her hair, dark as midnight, was braided intricately around her head. Eli stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he had learned to offer all alien dignitaries. "Princess Lyra, I am Captain Eli Carter. I have been assigned to ensure your safety during your visit." Lyra's eyes flicked over him with a mix of curiosity and mild irritation. She did not bow. "A human protector," she said, her voice smooth and commanding. "This is unexpected." Eli kept his expression neutral. "I assure you, Princess, I am capable. Your safety is my priority." She let out a short laugh, soft but sharp, like the crack of a whip. "Humans are capable," she repeated. "I have heard tales of your kind. Clever, yes, but fragile. Quick thinking, but easily broken." Her gaze seemed to pierce through him, searching for weakness. "Do not think I will make this easy for you, human. I wouldn't dream of it, Your Highness." Eli replied calmly, though his pulse quickened. He had faced far worse than prideful words, but something about Lyra made him cautious. She was no ordinary princess. He could sense that immediately. The crowd around them murmured, some bowing, others recording the moment on small devices. Lyra ignored them all, her focus entirely on Eli. For the first time, he felt the weight of the responsibility fully. This assignment would test not only his skill but his patience and resolve. As they moved through the crowded spaceport, Eli observed Lyra closely. She walked with confidence, but not arrogance. Her eyes constantly scanned her surroundings, noting potential threats, exits, and even the behavior of the crowd. Every so often, she paused to issue sharp instructions to her attendants, who moved with perfect synchrony to carry out her orders. Eli kept a careful distance, staying close enough to intervene, but far enough to give her space. "Your Highness," he said, "we have a clear path to the transport shuttles. Security has been reinforced along the route." Lyra glanced at him, her brow raised. "I do not require constant commentary, human. I am aware of my surroundings." "I understand, Princess," Eli said, keeping his tone even. "But I must anticipate what you may not see." Her eyes narrowed slightly, as if weighing his words. "HMPH, we shall see how well you anticipate danger when it arrives." The transport shuttles were sleek, silver, and silent, hovering just above the ground. As Lyra stepped aboard, Eli followed, his hand hovering near the sidearm on his belt. The interior was surprisingly spacious for a vessel of its speed. Panels lit up with alien symbols, and the floor seemed to hum faintly beneath their feet. Lyra turned to him, crossing her arms. "Tell me, Captain Carter, what makes you think you can protect me? I have survived attacks, ambushes, and assassins before. Humans have not faced such challenges. Why should I trust you?" Eli considered her words carefully. "Because I have trained for the impossible. I have faced enemies that seemed unstoppable and found a way to survive. I will use every skill, every resource, every ounce of experience to keep you alive. And I will not fail." She studied him for a long moment, her gaze sharp and calculating. Then, without a word, she nodded once and turned to the window, watching the city shrink beneath them as the shuttle rose. Eli felt a small, quiet victory. Not trust, not yet, but perhaps acknowledgement of his capability. Hours passed in relative silence as the shuttle carried them toward the Aurora Outlands, where the Peace Summit would take place. The stars outside stretched into streaks of light as the vessel accelerated to faster-than-light travel. Lyra remained composed, occasionally adjusting her seating or scanning the shuttle's readouts. Eli remained alert, monitoring communications and checking the security systems. Finally, breaking the silence, Eli spoke. "Princess, I understand you may not want a human protector, but I must warn you, the galaxy is changing. Not all factions respect your empire, and not all allies are loyal. Danger can appear when least expected." Lyra's gaze met his, steady and unflinching. "I am aware, human. That does not mean I need you, but I do not underestimate you, either. Let us see how this journey unfolds." Eli nodded. He sensed that their relationship would be challenging, perhaps frustrating. But he also recognized something else. Lyra was not a princess to be coddled or underestimated. She was sharp, resourceful, and dangerous in her own way. He realized that this assignment would demand everything he had, and perhaps more than he had ever given before. The shuttle hummed softly as the stars streaked by, carrying them toward an uncertain future. Eli Carter, human protector, felt a thrill of anticipation. For all the pride and fire in Princess Lyra, he knew one truth: when the time came, he would be ready. And for the first time, he wondered if this human might earn a grudging respect from the alien princess he had been sent to protect. The shuttle's engines hummed steadily as it cut through the darkness of space, carrying Princess Lyra and Captain Eli Carter toward the remote summit location. Outside the viewport, stars stretched into thin lines, a mesmerizing blur of light and color. The hum of the shuttle's systems was the only sound. Except for the occasional tapping of Lyra's fingers against the armrest, Eli observed her quietly, noting the subtle tension in her posture. She had not spoken much since the city. Her sharp eyes continually scanned the interior and exterior of the shuttle, as if anticipating danger at every second. Eli had faced countless hostile situations, but something about Lyra's composure made him alert in a different way. She was not just cautious. She was strategic, ready to act before most could even recognize a threat. Suddenly, the shuttle's warning lights blinked red, and a series of beeps echoed through the cabin. Eli immediately reached for the control panel. "Princess, we have incoming ships on an intercept course." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Show me," she said, her voice calm but firm. Her confidence, even in the face of danger, was unnerving. On the screen, several dark silhouettes approached. They were sleek, fast, and heavily armed. Eli recognized the signature immediately: pirates, mercenaries, and rogue factions from the Outer Rim, known for ambushes and extreme tactics. Ellie's jaw tightened. "They're attempting to capture you, Princess. They know who you are, and they'll stop at nothing. We need to react fast." Lyra leaned forward, her green eyes scanning the redouts with impressive speed. "They expect fear, human. Show them strategy instead." Eli allowed a small, impressed smile to escape. Despite her prideful words, Lyra remained composed under threat. "Strategy, Your Highness," he said. "We'll make sure they regret ever approaching us." The shuttle shuddered as the first volley of energy blasts hit the hull. Sparks flew across the control panels, and alarms blared. Ellie's hands flew over the controls, adjusting shields and firing countermeasures. Lyra's braid shifted slightly as she moved toward a side panel, her fingers dancing over controls Eli didn't recognize. "What are you doing?" he asked. Lyra's eyes met his, sharp and determined. "Helping. Humans are clever, yes, but speed alone will not save us. We must anticipate their moves." Eli hesitated, then nodded. Together, they synchronized their efforts. Eli maneuvered the shuttle in evasive patterns while Lyra manipulated the onboard systems to confuse the enemy's sensors. The attackers fired relentlessly, but every shot missed. The hull holding firm against repeated assaults, seconds stretched into long, tense minutes. The pirates adjusted their strategy, attempting a direct boarding maneuver. A smaller ship detached from the main force and sped toward their shuttle, like a predator closing in on prey. Eli reached for his sidearm, though he knew boarding would require more than conventional weapons. Lyra's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Lower the rear shields, now." Eli frowned. "Are you sure?" "That's risky." "Yes," she said sharply. "Trust me." He followed her instruction, the shields dropping just as the smaller craft tried to latch onto the shuttle. Confused by the sudden change in defensive patterns, the attacker's ship collided with the hull and tumbled away into the void. Eli let out a quiet breath. "Well, that worked." Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile, though her eyes remained vigilant. "It always works if you think beyond the obvious." Before Eli could respond, a new threat emerged. Two more ships flanked the shuttle, firing concentrated energy beams. The shields flickered under the strain, and the cabin shook violently. Lyra's instincts took over. She grabbed a tactical panel and redirected power from the life support to the propulsion systems, giving them a sudden burst of speed. The shuttle darted through the void like a silver arrow, narrowly avoiding the deadly blasts. Eli was impressed, but he couldn't hide his concern. "Princess, I admire your skill, but you're pushing this vessel beyond safe limits." She shrugged slightly, her green eyes steady. "If I wanted safety, I would have stayed in the palace. Survival requires risk." Eli shook his head with a grin. "You're impossible." Their brief exchange was cut short as the pirate ships launched a daring boarding maneuver. Magnetic grapples attached to the shuttle's hull, and figures in dark suits clung to the exterior. Eli grabbed his emergency harness and prepared to repel them, his muscles tense and ready. "Stay inside," he shouted. Lyra ignored him, moving to the hatch. "I will not hide while others fight for me." "That is not leadership." Eli froze, realizing that arguing would be futile. Lyra's determination was a force of its own. With a nod, he followed her lead, equipping his own harness and stepping onto the external surface of the shuttle. The void of space surrounded them, stars flashing like diamonds as they fought the intruders. The battle was intense. Eli moved with precise efficiency, disarming and neutralizing attackers with careful strikes. Lyra, using her psychic abilities, created a barrier of focused energy to push the remaining enemies away. Their movements were synchronized almost instinctively, a combination of human ingenuity and Nerethean skill. Eli could see it clearly now. The stories about Neretheans being proud and untouchable were true, but they underestimated humans. And humans, in turn, often misjudged the strength and versatility of alien abilities. Together, they were a formidable team, finally. The last of the boarding attackers was thrown back into the void. Eli slumped against the shuttle's exterior, breathing heavily. Lyra's psychic field dissipated, leaving her standing tall, unshaken. "Are you all right?" Eli asked, concern in his voice. "I am," she said calmly, though her chest rose and fell slightly faster than usual. "And you?" "I'm fine," he said, though the adrenaline still surged through his veins. "That was impressive, Your Highness. Most humans would have panicked, but you handled yourself beautifully." Lyra's eyes softened just slightly, the faintest hint of respect in their depth. "And you, human, are not as foolish as I believed. You anticipate, you react, and you endure. Perhaps you are capable after all." Eli allowed himself a small smile, feeling a spark of victory. The ice around her pride was beginning to crack, though he knew it would take time before it fully melted as the shuttle stabilized. Eli quickly ran a systems check. The hull had minor damage, but the vessel was functional. Lyra returned to her seat, composed once again, though her fingers tapped the armrest in thought. "We are not safe yet," she said quietly. "The pirates may return, stronger next time. We must prepare." Eli nodded, agreed. "I will coordinate defensive measures and monitor all incoming signals. But we also need to reach the summit before reinforcements arrive." Lyra's eyes flicked toward him, her expression unreadable. "You may prove useful yet, human. Survival is not about pride, it is about action. Remember this." Eli felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. They had survived the ambush, but he knew the danger was far from over. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often merciless. Yet, standing beside Princess Lyra, he felt a sense of purpose that went beyond orders or duty. He was not just her protector. He was part of a team capable of facing nearly any threat, hours passed in tense silence. The shuttle cut through the void, shields intact, weapons systems primed. Lyra occasionally studied the readouts, occasionally offering brief tactical suggestions. Eli found himself impressed by her focus, intelligence, and calm under pressure. She was proud and fierce, yes, but also capable of seeing the bigger picture when needed. Finally, as they approached the outskirts of the designated safe zone, Eli allowed himself a small, cautious smile. "We made it this far. The hardest part may be behind us." For now, Lyra's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. "Do not grow complacent, human. The galaxy does not forgive weakness. We must remain vigilant." Eli nodded, fully aware that their journey had only just begun. But for the first time, he sensed a shift in their dynamic. The princess, who had once dismissed humans as fragile and weak, had now seen the value of partnership, strategy, and courage in the dark silence of space. With stars streaking past and danger lurking in every corner, Captain Eli Carter and Princess Lyra continued their journey to unlikely allies, bound by circumstance, skill, and the fragile thread of trust. And though neither would admit it aloud, each had saved the other's life that day, forging a connection that would grow stronger with every challenge to come. The shuttle descended through the thick, swirling clouds of Veron 5, a remote and uncharted planet chosen as a temporary safe zone. The air outside was dense, tinged with green and purple hues from the planet's strange atmosphere. Eli gripped the armrest of his seat as the shuttle's engines rattled, fighting against the gusts of wind that pushed against the craft. Lyra remained calm, her posture straight, her eyes scanning every detail of the cockpit and viewport. "This atmosphere is more turbulent than expected," Eli said, adjusting the controls. "It will be tricky to land safely." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "Then make it tricky, human." "I do not enjoy failure." Eli allowed himself a small, tired smile. "Neither do I, Your Highness." Neither do I. The shuttle finally touched down with a heavy thud, rolling across the rocky surface before coming to a stop. Outside, the landscape stretched endlessly, jagged mountains, deep canyons, and forests of bioluminescent flora. A faint mist hovered over the ground, swirling around jagged rocks like living spirits. Eli quickly unbuckled himself and moved to secure the shuttle. Lyra followed, her long coat flaring slightly in the wind. She was calm, composed, and utterly fearless, but Eli could sense the tension in her movements. Every glance she cast around the planet suggested she was already thinking about escape routes, potential threats, and how to survive if the situation worsened. "Keep your eyes open," Eli said, scanning the horizon. "We're not out of danger yet. That ambush may have been a test. Others could be following us." Lyra's gaze flicked to him, sharp and calculating. "I do not fear danger, human. It is the foolish who fear it. I survive because I plan, because I adapt. Follow my lead and you will survive too." Eli nodded. Her words were blunt, but they carried wisdom. He had faced many enemies before, but he had never worked with someone who combined pride, intelligence, and fearlessness in quite the way Lyra did. They moved carefully through the dense mist and jagged terrain, their shuttle hidden behind a natural rock formation. The planet's surface was uneven, and strange sounds echoed from the forests beyond. Occasionally, faint movements could be seen in the mist, creatures unfamiliar to either human or Nearthian eyes. "Stay alert," Eli said, his voice low. "We do not know what inhabits this planet." Lyra nodded silently, her senses clearly heightened. "Do not underestimate a place simply because it is unknown. The wild is more cunning than most soldiers." Hours passed as they navigated the rocky landscape. Eli led the way, marking potential dangers and safe paths, while Lyra occasionally paused, touching the ground lightly or raising her hands to sense vibrations. Eli was impressed by her ability to detect changes in the environment, subtle signs that most humans would miss. Eventually, they reached a natural shelter cave formed by enormous jagged stones. Eli inspected the area thoroughly, checking for threats, weaknesses, and escape routes. "This will have to do for now," he said. "We can rest, regain our strength, and plan our next move." Lyra entered the cave gracefully, her sharp eyes scanning the interior. "It is secure enough, but I do not like hiding. I prefer movement and action." Eli chuckled. "Well, we'll be moving again soon enough." But even the strongest need rest. They settled near a small glowing pool of water, the light reflecting off the cave walls in shifting colors. Eli began to set up a temporary perimeter, using portable sensors and simple traps to alert them of any approaching threats. Lyra watched him with curiosity, clearly studying his methods. "You are thorough," she said quietly. "I did not expect a human to think this way. Most rely on speed or brute force." Eli glanced at her. "Experience teaches you to prepare for every possibility. And in your case, Your Highness, preparation is vital. Your enemies are clever and relentless." Lyra studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, she offered a small, approving nod. "Perhaps you are more useful than I believed. But usefulness alone does not earn respect. That comes with endurance and courage." Eli met her gaze steadily. "Then I will earn it, Princess. No matter what it takes." The atmosphere in the cave shifted slightly. There was no warmth or friendliness yet, but a subtle acknowledgement had passed between them. Both knew that survival depended on cooperation, even if pride and differences made it difficult to admit. As night fell over the alien landscape, strange sounds echoed from the forest outside. Unfamiliar creatures moved through the shadows, their glowing eyes visible in the mist. Eli kept a watchful eye, scanning the perimeter while Lyra used her psychic abilities to sense the presence of life nearby. Hours passed without incident, though the tension remained high. Eli could feel the strain of constant vigilance pressing on him, yet he also noticed something new. Lyra, despite her pride and strength, began to relax slightly in his presence. She trusted him enough to allow herself moments of observation rather than immediate reaction. At one point, Eli broke the silence. "Princess, I know you do not like relying on humans, but you saved yourself before. How did you survive alone in situations like this?" Lyra's gaze turned distant. I have trained my entire life. My people expect nothing less. Survival is instinct, adaptation, and careful thought. And sometimes, she glanced at him, her green eyes shining faintly in the low light. It requires help, even from those we do not expect. Eli nodded quietly. Her words struck him. Despite her pride, she understood the value of partnership even if she struggled to admit it openly. Morning arrived slowly, casting soft light through the cave entrance. Eli inspected their surroundings and prepared to move again. Lyra stepped outside first, her long coat flowing behind her as she surveyed the horizon. The alien landscape was breathtaking, with towering crystals, glowing forests, and distant mountains that seemed impossibly high. Beautiful, Eli said softly, but still dangerous. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. Danger is what gives beauty meaning. Human. A world without risk is a world without challenge. They continued their journey across the harsh terrain. Each step was deliberate. Eli led them through hidden paths and shallow rivers, avoiding open areas where attackers could spot them. Lyra remained close, observing his tactics and occasionally offering insight based on her psychic perception of the land. Together, they moved efficiently, a combination of human ingenuity and Nerithian intuition. By midday, they faced a wide chasm with a narrow, crumbling bridge. Eli studied it carefully, testing the stability with his boots. We'll need to cross carefully. One wrong step and we could fall hundreds of meters. Lyra's eyes scanned the chasm. Then we adapt. Focus, balance, and precision. You may be human, but you can learn, Eli nodded, trusting her judgment. Slowly, they crossed the bridge, careful with every step. The wind whipped around them, the mist swirling below, but neither faltered. It was an unspoken lesson in trust. Both relied on each other, not just for physical safety, but for the courage to keep moving forward. After crossing, they paused to rest on a high plateau. From this vantage point, they could see the summit in the distance, a faint structure barely visible through the haze. Eli checked the scanners. We're on track. Only a few hours left if we maintain this pace. Lyra studied the horizon quietly. And if we encounter enemies again, then we fight or we escape, Eli said simply. And this time, we do it together. Lyra's lips curved into a small, approving smile. Almost imperceptible. Good. Survival is better when shared. Human. Perhaps I underestimated the value of partnership. Eli allowed himself a faint grin. Perhaps, Princess, perhaps, as they moved toward the distant summit. The alien planet stretched endlessly before them. The path was harsh, the terrain unforgiving, and danger lingered at every step. Yet, something had shifted between them. The human protector and the alien princess were no longer simply adversaries in pride. They had begun to recognize each other's value, each learning lessons of courage, trust, and resilience from the other. For Eli, the journey had revealed something profound. Even a princess as proud and independent as Lyra could understand the importance of cooperation. And for Lyra, it became increasingly clear that humans, especially this human, were not weak. They were resourceful, adaptable, and capable of courage in ways she had never fully appreciated. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the alien landscape. Eli glanced at Lyra as they walked side by side, her head held high despite the fatigue of travel. He knew that the challenges ahead would only grow more difficult, yet he also knew that together, they stood a chance of surviving and succeeding against the dangers that awaited them. And for the first time, both realized that survival was no longer a solitary effort. It was a shared journey, one that would test them, teach them, and perhaps, in the end, bring them closer than either had imagined. The jagged peaks of Veron 5 stretched endlessly ahead as Eli and Princess Lyra approached the hidden stronghold of the rogue faction. From their vantage point on a rocky ledge, the structure looked more like a fortress grown from the mountains than built by hands. Dark, metallic walls jutted sharply into the sky, guarded by automated sentries and turrets that scanned for movement. The air was thick and heavy, carrying the faint smell of ozone and smoke. Eli crouched behind a boulder, scanning the fortress through his portable scanner. "There's no doubt about it," he said quietly. They've fortified this place well. Every entrance is guarded, and the turrets cover almost the entire perimeter. Lyra's eyes narrowed as she studied the structure. They are confident. Too confident. That is their weakness. Her green eyes glinted with determination. We cannot approach openly. A frontal assault would be foolish, Eli nodded. Then we go in stealthily. We need to locate your entourage first and neutralize the guards quietly. Once we have them safe, we can create a distraction to escape. Lyra gave a curt nod. Very well, human. Let us see if you can think beyond the obvious once again, together. They moved through the jagged rocks, keeping low and avoiding the guard's line of sight. Lyra occasionally paused, extending her hands slightly, as if feeling the vibrations of the ground and the fortress beyond. Eli watched silently, fascinated by her abilities. While he relied on technology and strategy, Lyra relied on instinct, perception, and psychic skill. The combination made them nearly unstoppable. As they approached the outer wall, a patrol of 3 guards moved past. Eli signaled to Lyra, and she responded with a subtle gesture. Using their combined skills, they incapacitated the guards quietly, ensuring no alarms were triggered. Eli marveled at her precision. Each move was deliberate and calculated, showing the years of training and discipline she had undergone. Inside the fortress, the atmosphere was tense. Metallic corridors stretched in all directions, and the faint hum of machinery filled the air. Eli led the way, keeping a careful eye on the sensors, while Lyra followed, her psychic senses alert for any sign of her entourage. Finally, they found them. The princess's attendants were held in a secure chamber, guarded by heavily armed mercenaries. Lyra's expression darkened. We need a distraction, she whispered. One that will allow me to reach them without drawing attention. Eli scanned the corridor, noting the layout. I can create a diversion by triggering the turret control panel remotely. It will give you a small window to move in. Lyra nodded, her fingers brushing the door. Do it, human. And hurry. With a few quick keystrokes, Eli disrupted the turret systems. Alarms blared as the automated defenses malfunctioned, and the mercenaries rushed to check the issue. Lyra moved swiftly, her psychic field shielding her presence as she advanced toward the chamber. In moments, she reached her attendants and freed them, her calm voice guiding them silently through the maze of corridors. Eli followed closely behind, neutralizing any mercenaries who discovered them. Together, they move as a single, efficient unit, each complementing the other's skills. Eli handled the physical threats with precision, while Lyra's psychic abilities and strategic mind kept them undetected. But their escape was far from easy. At the final corridor leading to the exit, a figure stepped into their path, a towering mercenary armed with advanced weaponry. Clearly the faction leader. His eyes narrowed as he saw them. The princess, you won't leave this fortress alive. Eli stepped forward, placing himself between Lyra and the leader. We're leaving, he said firmly. Any interference ends here. The leader laughed, a deep, menacing sound. Humans and aliens together, pathetic. I will enjoy ending both of you. Without warning, the leader lunged forward with incredible speed. Eli dodged quickly, firing his sidearm to force him back. Lyra extended her hands, creating a psychic barrier that repelled his attacks. The leader's strength was immense, but the combination of human tactics and Nerithian power made him hesitate. In the chaos, Eli noticed the leader's weapon charging a powerful energy blast aimed at Lyra. Without thinking, he leaped into the path, taking the hit himself. Pain seared through his arm and shoulder, but his protective instincts refused to yield. He landed heavily, gritting his teeth against the force of the strike. Lyra's eyes widened, shock and fury flashing across her face. Eli, she shouted, her psychic energy flaring like a storm. The leader staggered under the sudden onslaught, unable to focus against her concentrated power. With a final, precise maneuver, Eli drew a small, concealed device from his belt, a compact EMP that disrupted the leader's energy weapon. The blast short-circuited his systems, and the mercenary fell to the ground, incapacitated. Lyra rushed to Ellie's side, concern etched across her face. You risked yourself for me, she said quietly. Do you understand what that means? Eli winced, pressing a hand to his shoulder. I did what I had to do. Your life is worth it. For the first time, Lyra's proud expression softened. She placed a hand on his arm, a gesture she rarely allowed anyone. You saved my life, human. I owe you more than words can express. Eli managed a faint smile. Then don't thank me yet. We still need to get out of here. They moved quickly, Lyra supporting Eli as they guided the princess's attendants toward the exit. The fortress was in chaos. Alarms blared, mercenaries scrambled, and automated defenses malfunctioned. The chaos worked in their favor. Reaching the outer ramp, they spotted a small hovercraft waiting a prearranged extraction vehicle. Eli helped Lyra and the attendants aboard, then carefully climbed in himself. The craft lifted off just as reinforcements from the rogue faction arrived, unable to target them effectively from below. As they soared into the sky, Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe. She looked at Eli, her green eyes filled with admiration and gratitude. I judged humans too quickly, she admitted. You are not weak. You are strong, capable, and brave. Eli shook his head, his voice hoarse from the strain. I'm just doing my job, Princess. But I'll admit, you're one of the toughest people I've ever worked with. A small smile appeared on her lips. Then perhaps we are equals in some way. Eli glanced at her, surprised by the rare concession. It was the first time she had admitted that she needed him, not just for protection, but for partnership. In that moment, their bond solidified, forged in the fires of danger and trust. As the hovercraft carried them towards safety, Eli checked the scanners. The rogue faction's stronghold was already a distant silhouette, its systems malfunctioning and alarms echoing across the mountains. They had escaped, but Eli knew that the galaxy would never stop presenting threats. Lyra leaned back, exhausted but composed. You have earned my respect, human, not just for your skills, but for your courage. Do not forget that. Eli nodded, smiling faintly despite the pain in his shoulder. I won't forget, and neither should you. I'll always be here when danger comes. She gave him a small, approving nod. I will remember. You have proven that survival is not about strength alone, it is about courage, determination, and the will to act when it matters most. For the first time, Eli realized something profound. Their mission was more than protection. It was a partnership, a combination of human ingenuity and alien skill that could overcome almost any obstacle. Together, they had faced impossible odds, saved lives, and outwitted enemies who underestimated them. The hovercraft rose above the planet's jagged peaks, carrying them towards safety and the distant summit where their journey would continue. Eli could see the determination in Lyra's eyes, the same determination that had driven her through danger and challenge. He knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. As the alien sun dipped below the horizon, casting red and purple hues across the sky, Eli felt a sense of calm and purpose. He had protected the princess, yes, but he had also earned her respect and trust. A far greater achievement. Lyra, seated beside him, remained vigilant yet relaxed, her eyes occasionally scanning the landscape below. She had learned the value of human skill, courage, and loyalty, and Eli had learned that even the proudest, most independent princess could be a worthy ally, capable of fighting alongside him and trusting his judgment. In the quiet of the hovercraft, as the stars began to twinkle above them, both understood something unspoken. They had survived, not because of strength alone, but because they had faced danger together. And that bond born of courage, trust, and shared struggle would carry them through whatever trials awaited next. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often dangerous. But for Eli Carter and Princess Lyra, it was no longer something to fear. Together, they had faced the impossible, and together, they would face whatever came next. The twin suns of the Nerithian capital were just beginning to rise, casting long golden streaks across the city's crystalline towers. From above, Aurora Prime's distant trading ports looked like scattered jewels. But this city, Lyra's home, shone with the quiet elegance of centuries of culture and diplomacy. The capital was alive with movement, citizens preparing for the day, emissaries arriving from distant systems, and guards patrolling every street. Princess Lyra and Captain Eli Carter stood at the edge of the royal landing platform, looking down at the bustling city. The journey from Veron 5 had been tense but successful. The rogue faction had been neutralized, and her entourage was safe. For the first time in weeks, there was a sense of relief. Eli adjusted his uniform, brushing dust and debris from the battle on Veron 5 from his sleeves. His shoulder still ached from the strike he had taken to protect Lyra, but he would not let her see any weakness. Survival, after all, was as much about appearance as it was about action. Lyra turned toward him, her braid catching the morning light. "We made it, human. Despite your stubbornness, we survived." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Stubbornness? That's a compliment coming from you, princess, isn't it?" Lyra's lips curved into a faint, rare smile. "Perhaps. You have proven yourself more useful than I expected. Not just in skill, but in courage. You place others before yourself, and that is commendable." Eli blinked, slightly taken aback. Praise from Lyra was rare, and genuine praise even rarer. "Thank you, Your Highness. But you saved yourself, too. You're remarkable." Lyra's eyes softened, a subtle acknowledgement of the truth in his words. "We are both survivors, human. And perhaps, in that, we are equals." The shuttle docked at the royal platform, and the attendants quickly helped the princess and her people disembark. Citizens gathered, their whispers carrying across the air as they recognized the princess and noted the human standing beside her. Eli could feel their cautious curiosity. Many had doubted humans' capabilities, especially in direct contact with the Nerithian royal family. Lyra walked ahead, her posture regal yet relaxed. Eli followed closely, scanning the crowd for threats while keeping his focus on her. It was his final duty in this assignment: ensure her safety until she returned safely to the palace. As they entered the main streets, Lyra's attendants whispered hurriedly among themselves, ensuring that all arrangements were prepared for her return. The princess observed them calmly, a gentle but firm presence that commanded respect. Eli realized, once again, that leadership was not just about skill, it was about presence. And Lyra radiated it naturally. They arrived at the royal palace, its tall spires and reflective surfaces gleaming in the sunlight. Citizens and visiting dignitaries gathered in the central courtyard, awaiting Lyra's address regarding the successful mission and her return. Eli kept his distance, but he did not relax. Threats could still arise, even in a place of apparent safety. Lyra stepped forward, her green eyes scanning the gathered crowd. Her voice, clear and commanding, carried effortlessly across the courtyard. "My people, allies, and friends," she began. "We have returned safely from a mission that tested our resolve and challenged our skill. But our success was not mine alone." She turned slightly, her gaze landing on Eli. The crowd shifted, recognizing the human who had been at her side. "Captain Eli Carter," she continued, "has protected me through danger, strategy, and cunning beyond what I had expected. Without his courage, determination, and skill, I may not have returned here today." The crowd murmured in astonishment. Aliens and humans alike were impressed. Public acknowledgement of a human by the Nerithian royal family was rare. An acknowledgement of heroism even rarer. Ellie's heart raced. He had risked everything, and this recognition, respect, and trust was more valuable than any medal or title. Lyra's gaze returned to him, steady and unwavering. Eli Carter is not just a protector. He is a companion in adversity, a strategist in peril, and a friend in times of trial. Let this serve as a reminder that courage is not limited to race, species, or origin. It belongs to those who act when it matters most. The crowd erupted into applause, a sound that echoed off the palace walls. Eli allowed himself a small, grateful smile. He had never sought praise, but seeing the princess acknowledge his efforts so openly was a moment he would never forget. Lyra turned back to the assembled audience, her expression resolute. "Let this be a lesson to all. Trust, partnership, and mutual respect are the foundations of survival, peace, and progress. Today, humanity has proven its value, and we must honor that." Eli stood quietly beside her, scanning the crowd, but now he felt something else, a sense of belonging. For so long, He had been the outsider, the human navigating the politics and dangers of the galaxy. But here, in this moment, he was seen, recognized, and respected later. Within the quiet halls of the palace, Lyra and Eli walked together, away from the public eye. The soft golden light from the crystal windows reflected off the polished floors, casting patterns that shifted as they moved. You know, Eli said, breaking the silence, you could have done this without me. You're incredibly skilled, faster, and stronger than most humans. You could have fought your way out of Veron 5 alone. Lyra regarded him thoughtfully. Yes, perhaps I could have survived. But would I have done so as efficiently, as safely? I respect skill, Eli, and you have demonstrated that skill today. I would not have survived without you, do not doubt that. Eli nodded, feeling the weight of her words. Thank you. That means more than I can say. For a moment, they walked in silence, the quiet of the palace contrasting with the chaos of recent days. Then Lyra spoke again, softer this time. Humans are often underestimated. I once thought your kind fragile, limited, and easily broken. I see now that courage, loyalty, and cleverness are strengths that cannot be measured by appearance. Eli allowed himself a small, modest grin. We're full of surprises. Lyra's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Indeed. Perhaps there is much I have yet to learn. They reached the balcony overlooking the city. The streets were calmer now, citizens returning to their daily lives, unaware of the danger that had almost reached their city. Lyra stood in quiet contemplation, her gaze distant. You know, Eli said gently, you don't have to carry everything alone. You've seen it now. Strength isn't always about fighting alone. It's about trusting others to stand with you. Lyra's eyes softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through her usual composure. I have learned that lesson, human, and you have taught it through action, not words. Eli felt a quiet satisfaction. They had faced impossible odds, survived together, and grown to respect one another. What had started as a duty a human protector assigned to an alien princess had become something more profound: trust, partnership, and a shared understanding that transcended pride or species. Days later, the peace summit commenced. Lyra, radiant and composed, stood before delegates from across the galaxy. Eli remained nearby, always alert, always ready, yet less tense than before. His presence was no longer that of a mere protector, it was that of an equal, trusted by both Lyra and the Nerithian Empire. During the summit, Lyra repeatedly acknowledged Ellie's contributions, detailing moments where his courage and strategy had saved lives. Humans and aliens alike listened with respect, many surprised by the capabilities of a single human operative. Eli found himself quietly proud not just of the recognition, but of the partnership they had forged. Later, in private, Lyra addressed him once more. Captain Carter, your actions have not only saved my life, but have strengthened the bonds between our peoples. I am grateful, and I will not forget it. Eli nodded. I don't need thanks, Princess, but I'll admit, it feels good to be recognized. Lyra's rare smile was full and genuine. Then remember this, human. You are valued. Your courage, skill, and loyalty are strengths that make you indispensable. Never doubt that. For the first time, Eli truly believed it. His role had been more than a mission, it had been a journey of trust, respect, and growth. And as he stood beside Lyra, he knew that the bond they had formed would endure, no matter what challenges the galaxy might throw at them next. As the twin suns set over the Nerithian capital, Lyra and Eli looked out over the city. The horizon glowed with warm light, a symbol of hope, survival, and the unity of two very different worlds for Princess Lyra. The lesson was clear, even the proudest, most independent soul could accept help and recognize the value of partnership. And for Captain Eli Carter, the lesson was equally profound: courage, loyalty, and skill could earn respect, trust, and even friendship in the most unexpected places. Together, human and princess, they had survived the impossible. Together, they had changed the course of their worlds. And together, they would face whatever came next, ready for the challenges of the galaxy. Side by side, the stars above began to twinkle, promising new adventures, new dangers, and new victories. But one truth remained unshakable: trust and courage, shared between two determined souls, could overcome even the greatest of odds.